people attend this from outside of our sphere of influence, but it's content. Content is content, no matter where you consume it or deliver it. Also remember that over in that pane on your right-hand side, there's a Q&A bucket. Feel free to, I just started visible. I guess that's the important first step. Feel free to throw some questions in there. I'm going to do my best to field the answers throughout the presentation. And by best, I mean, I'll probably miss half of them. So feel free at the end, if your question has been answered, to make it known in chat or other places. So we're going to go ahead and kick things off. Today's presentation is about message mapping, and that's the secret ingredient to meaningful personas. Of course, this is the content marketing hub for North America. And kind of what led us to this topic, and I'm sure it's the same is true for all of you. You scour your feed on LinkedIn, and you see a lot of people talking about how the persona is dead. I think a mentor of mine, Rand Fishkin, posted that recently. Of course, there's the dots, and you got to open up the full thread to read what they're talking about. But there's this connotation that personas are no longer valuable in marketing. And we kind of over at Content Workshop, but specifically Riley and I, we kind of agree and disagree simultaneously. Personas are dead unless they're applied, right? It's like any good tool. You must apply that tool for it to be worthwhile, right? So we're going to talk today about message mapping and how that is one of the secret ways in which to build a meaningful persona. All right, so our agenda today, welcome. Already accomplished one thing, check it off the list, accomplished one thing for the day. We'll do some quick introductions. We'll have a HubSpot update, get into the meat of the presentation about message mapping and personas, talk about the next hug, which we're very excited about, and close things out with a little housekeeping. So again, welcome to the hug. This is our June content marketing. NAM stands for North America, HubSpot user group. Our vision, as we've shared before, is to build a vibrant community of content creators that use the HubSpot ecosystem to produce entertaining, educational, and engaging content. We're here to help everybody network, grow, and advance. I have seen a number of you have connected with me personally on LinkedIn, have started sharing information via the group that we have on LinkedIn, which we'll talk about in a second. So I appreciate the networking component coming together. I'm David J. Ebner. I'm the president of Content Workshop and also the author of Kingmakers, a Content Marketing Story, for those of you that didn't join us last time. So I run Content Workshop, and I head up this content marketing hub. And with me is Riley Manning. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey guys, I'm director of operations for Content Workshop. I do a fair bit of everything. My background is in copywriting and proofreading and journalism and all that good stuff, and bank marketing also.
Fantastic. Got it. Oh, great. So we have, if you're new to how HubSpot manages these hugs, particularly the virtual ones, we have a chapter as part of the greater HubSpot ecosystem, which you can find at events.hubspot.com/content marketing NAM. I'll have to grab that and toss it into the chat because I just realized that nobody's going to actually type that in their browser. So I'll do that right now. So feel free to join the chapter. You'll make sure you get updates of everything we're doing, new events. You get like automatic emails and whatnot to keep you as part of the group. All right, HubSpot update. A few things that HubSpot has launched this month. Some of these features might be new to you. Some of them might be not. But anyway, this is what they've released this month. The CRM on that front, they've updated this with a custom card customization. So now in the CRM, particularly your deal cards can be customized so that when you're viewing it on a on the column, the card view functionality, you can actually have it display specific information that you want, which is kind of cool. And on that front too, they also have added this priority to deals in the HubSpot CRM. I particularly like that because it lets me at a glance see anything that's a high priority and act on it immediately. So that's kind of cool. In the marketing hub, they've added some new reports to campaigns and sequences. So now you can report across a larger breadth of data that's contained in a campaign or in a sales sequence, right? For your sales team, which is really neat. So now you can report on those just as you would any type of workflow or item of that nature. Also, they now have email reply tracking. I haven't dug into this very much, but it seems like an exciting new feature so that as a marketer, you can see how many people hit that reply button from the newsletter or the personalized one-to-one email that you're sending out, or mass emails that look like they're personalized one-to-one emails. Those are my favorite. In the CMS hub, they now have added a file recycle bin. I can imagine the number of people who've reached out to HubSpot saying, "Hey, I didn't mean to delete all those files. Can you restore them for me?" That's essentially what they're doing here. I believe it's either a 45-day or a 90-day cycle where they'll automatically permanently delete things in your recycle bin, but it will have a secondary storage function in case you accidentally deleted something. And most importantly, they just announced that Oprah is going to be headlining Inbound this year, which is really exciting. They've got the virtual Inbound that you can sign up for now. From what I understand, there may be an in-person function for Inbound. It's not terribly likely. So my suggestion is to register for Inbound if you're interested, and you'll be able to have some screen time with Oprah. It'll feel like she's in your living room with you. That's our updates.
Awesome, guys. So we're now transitioning into the secret ingredient to meaningful personas, the meat of our hug session today. And just as we get started, I would love y'all to drop in the chat. Does your company use personas? Have you what is y'all's experience with them up until this point? I'm just so fascinated to know because as David mentioned, the persona discourse on LinkedIn and sort of other marketing marketing content outlets is sort of all over the map, right? But none of them sort of hit the bullseye for me. And the persona process is such a key part of our onboarding with the client. And it is a little interesting to see it misapplied, in my opinion, in so many ways. So, like I said, we find it to be an extremely useful process. And so I hope that by the end of this, you'll have some ideas about how to make your personas useful to you, right? Because like Rebecca is saying here in the chat, a lot of companies do personas, and then after the phase of forming their personas, they don't do anything with them. And so hopefully this presentation will sort of like bridge that gap between your personas and and producing useful content. So if personas are being useful, what should they do? Okay, so personas should give you a better understanding of your customer, obviously. Who is using your product, all right? And who is your best served customer, right? We all want, not all leads are created equal, right? So I think that's one thing that marketing personas do that maybe people or companies don't like so much, because they feel like, well, if we focus on this persona, we're excluding this other persona or this other type of user who is maybe not as deep in our relationship. But I would encourage you to develop your personas around the people who have the most potential to be engaged with your product, right? Who are your best customers? And as you think about your personas, they should pinpoint the situations, the priorities, the motivations, and the habits among those customers, right? And we're going to talk about those 4 things quite a bit here in the next few minutes. If your company doesn't have personas, do you need the personas? Maybe, maybe not. I think a lot of times people or companies do personas as sort of a marketing exercise with no plan for how to use them. They're just doing it because that's the thing that companies are supposed to do, right? Or the competition has done some personas, so we got to do them too. Where's my alrighty? So here's the problems as I see it with personas. Personas couch mindsets, attitudes, and habits into character traits and demographic info. So here's an example. Here's a real example from a HubSpot article. I won't, bore you with reading this. I'll just give you a second to kind of take it in yourself. So we get a lot of information about this persona, Elizabeth here. And none of it is really connected to any sort of product, right? This is demographic information. But what you are supposed to take away from this is that Elizabeth's main priority is saving time. She is a busy person. She's got to make every second count. And her first question about any product is going to be, when am I going to find time for this, right? Anything extra is going to have to happen after hours, outside of her job and her family time. And also we get some information in here about how she consumes information and interacts with technology, right? So I guess like my question is, if you can identify the mindsets, attitudes, and habits, why would you then translate those into this like demographic snippet with the intention of people reading that demographic snippet and pulling out, interpreting those mindsets, attitudes, and habits? Why not just say what the mindsets, attitudes, and habits are? Personas only help when they connect to the experience your product provides. If I'm selling, widgets, it probably doesn't matter that Elizabeth drives a Honda Civic. Oh, wait, I hit the wrong button. So the second problem with personas is that a lot of times companies' personas are informed or are not informed by sales and support staff, by people who are directly having conversations with customers. Data is great in my opinion, but it should also be paired with anecdotal evidence. Data is not a silver bullet. It is best used when it informs human judgment and decisions. Okay, and so I think that's a lot of times like where these personas seem to end up is, well, our average age of client is 34 and they have 2.4 kids or whatever, but that's only half the story. So your company is probably already doing this in their sales and support staff, but the sales and support staff also have to ask questions about what the broader goal of the customer is. All right, it's not just customers don't use your product or your service because of its features, right? They use it to accomplish a goal. And so your sales and support staff should understand as much as they can what that larger goal is. If they've never used a product or a service like yours before and this is their first time, what is the triggering event to lead them to seek out your solution? If they're switching to you from a competitor, why? What is the triggering event for them to break that relationship? These are all things that your sales and support staff should know and they should be asking. Oh, I forgot to do my arrows. So another thing is when you win a sale, what's usually the clincher? We talk to clients who say, if I can get them to a demo, I know that I've got them, right? Or is it when they see or learn about a certain feature? Do they say, well, when I saw that y'all had this, I knew that's what I wanted to, that's why I knew I wanted to go with y'all. And so what are the ancillary features of your solution? You know, they seek your solution out to solve one problem, and they may not be aware of all the other problems that can be solved by your solution. So what are those ancillary features that support the main pain point? These are all things that your customer service staff can tell you or should be able to. So again, what are the broader goals and situations of your customer? Remember, situational information is much more important than demographic information. What do sales and support hear over and over and over? Whatever questions and concerns they're speaking to time and time again, those are good starting places to build your personas and your messaging. So let me walk you through a real world example with one of our clients that we work with at Content Workshop. Does everybody know what a homeowners association is? I wasn't sure really. I've never had any contact with a homeowners association. So if you're unfamiliar, a homeowners association is basically like a governing body that makes rules for a neighborhood, right? They may say you can't park on the street, you can only paint your house like one of 3 or 4 colors. You know, you can't have a trampoline in the front yard, right? And the reason for these rules is to maintain the property value by creating a like aesthetically pleasing, well-functioning neighborhood. So that's what an HOA is. And it, you know, homeowners pay dues to their HOAs, and in exchange, those dues may go to pay for common areas like a pool or whatever. But the HOA board runs the neighborhood in that way. So our client provides a software platform built specifically to help homeowners associations self-manage their communities. A lot of homeowners associations use third-party companies, very expensive companies to do their bookkeeping and issue parking violations and things like that. And so many HOA communities want to manage it themselves and save that cost. So as we're onboarding our HOA software client, they basically tell us, you know, we get 2 kinds of customers, all right? We get a retiree who's been volunteering as the HOA treasurer for a long time. They've probably been using pencil and paper or maybe QuickBooks to keep track of their HOA management. But homeowners want a way to pay digitally. They're tired of mailing in checks and things like that. This persona isn't the most tech savvy, and when they want some help, they want to call and talk to a person and have them walk through it. That's persona number 1. Persona number 2, all right, is a young professional who's been sort of thrust into the volunteer role, right? Their HOA board has picked this person because they're young, and the board assumes this person is tech savvy, and they really wanted to do it with as little effort as possible, right? They kind of don't even want to be doing this. I'm sorry for the yard noise. It's outside of my control. So this is what our message map looks like, okay? This is gonna be your bridge from your persona information to your content. Okay, so across the top, you're gonna have challenges, solutions, outcomes, and benefits. And down the side, you're gonna have your different personas. Maybe you have 2 personas, maybe you have 3, maybe you have 5. Probably not. Usually people have fewer personas than they think. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Let's look at challenges, solutions, and outcomes, all right? Your challenge is the pain point that the customer has, and they have many. The solution is a feature of your product that speaks to that pain point. And the outcome is what it looks like when the pain point is solved. So I have this problem, this feature can fix it, and when it's fixed, it looks like this. All right, so here's our example. Our challenge is that collecting HOA dues by hand, usually by check, is meticulous and time consuming. Our software enables digital payments, which let homeowners pay instantly from anywhere. So you'll notice that the challenge and the solution, there's not really any overlap in their description. Okay, the solution doesn't say anything about the problem, which is how it's supposed to be. Everything in the challenge and the solution should be sort of freestanding. So when you mix them and you match them together, then you get the solution, which is dues collection is streamlined, and more broadly, that improves your collection rate and stabilizes your cash flow, right? So if people can pay digitally, I don't have to spend 2 weeks, collecting checks and missing connections with people who live in the community. It's more likely that people will pay on time, and that makes our budget situation, more even. Okay, so here's another challenge. Because our persona uses manual tools like QuickBooks or spreadsheets, the HOA's information is very disorganized. All right, so on the other hand, our HOA software acts as a digital repository for all information, right? It automatically collects all this information, sorts it, stores it, organizes it. So when you apply that solution to the problem of manual tools, what happens? The HOA board has greater insight into accounting, maintenance requests are processed quicker, and the HOA is ready in the case of sort of an audit scenario. Okay, so is this making sense so far? Let me know in the chat. Challenges plus solutions give you an outcome. Your customers' challenges, your solutions create an outcome. Alrighty. So now kind of moving down the message map, right? After your outcome, you have the benefits. Okay, so the benefits answer the so what question for your customer. For your persona, what's in it for them, right? If this is great for the HOA board or whatever, but what's in it for me? So for the outcome, that dues collection is streamlined, collection rate is improved, cash flow is stabilized. The benefit is that it's less work to collect dues. That allows our persona to spend time where they would rather be spending time. For greater insight into accounting and things like that comes with a central organization tool. The HOA board can budget for better amenities, right? So if you don't have a pool, maybe you can budget for a pool now that you have this greater insight into your finances. More broadly, it makes the neighborhood a better place to live and raises property values. So the tricky part about this is that the same feature can offer different benefits for each persona. Okay, so for persona 1, time is not an issue. The time-saving aspect of our HOA software is that it's more convenient for homeowners, and it makes the persona look good in the eyes of the board. For our other persona, time is an issue, right? They'd rather be spending their time somewhere else. So our benefits matrix, which is sort of another table that you can use to think about your products or your services and your customers, right? So down the left side, you're going to have, your personas, just like on the message map, except across the top, you're going to have different features of your personas. So for instance, this HOA software collects contact information. So how is that good for persona 1? It makes it easier to keep homeowners informed, which is a better experience for the homeowner. However, for persona 2, the benefit is that it reduces the runaround. See, so you don't have to look for through emails or anything like that to find a way to contact a homeowner. So for numerous support touch points, Persona 1 likes the fact that they can get answers in real time. Persona 2 likes the fact that they can access material on their own to help them optimize their, optimize their HOA management. So think about that. Like, how are different personas served differently by the same benefit? Now to the big question. So how does message mapping inform content? So remember a challenges column in the message map? So you can use these to define top funnel prospects, right? These are people who have a problem and they're searching for different solutions to their problem. At Content Workshop, we sort of prefer agnostic content, right? So for this example, our content talks about the advantages of HOA software in general without really naming our client. You don't really have to name the client for a couple of reasons. Number one, it feels less salesy from a content perspective. It comes across as more genuine, as you have this problem and we're giving you information to make a better decision in your pursuit of a solution. Now, also they're seeing this content on our client's site. So there is branding there already. They're not going to be on a site and have no idea they're on a site, right? I think of this as, if you think of a car, like let's just think of any car brand, right? The logo of no car brand logo has a car on it. It doesn't have to, because whenever you see that logo on, say, like a hood ornament or a steering wheel, like it's on the car. You know what I mean? So push the solution is my point, instead of pushing your specific product. So that leads to the question is, well, when should I name my product, right? I would advise you use mentioning your product by name when you're talking about features and functions that nobody else offers, which we'll get to that in a second. So another way that you can use these challenges to define top funnel prospects is by asking your salespeople about the very first conversation or two they have with prospective clients. This is sort of like a getting to know you conversation, and it can be very telling to know what clients are asking about, right? What's the first thing on their mind? What are they looking to accomplish, and what's standing in their way? Another way is to to tie those features of your product or service to those broader goals. So for instance, right, in our HOA software example, 99.9% of people who are looking for this solution want to offer digital payments. That's the number one thing that they're looking for. So every HOA software offers digital payments. So you still need to speak to that, even if it's a given, but you can say, and also, like, my product offers this, this, and this, right? When you get into that differentiation, that's where you can say, you can sort of imply that we're helping you make a decision, but our decision is the best decision. Our product or service is the best decision. So, another thing about these personas, right? HOAs hate giving fines and violations. They hate putting the ticket under somebody's windshield because it's going to, it's going to cause conflict. But by digitizing these violations in our software, it becomes less personal and it becomes easy to just pay it, right? So because this digital payment function lets people just fix the problem, there's less conflict. So that's an example of sort of like the way that an ancillary benefit can tie into, a broader challenge. So to recap, personas need to be crafted within the context of their experience and their situation. Personas are about situations. They're not about demographics. An older person and a younger person can both be very tech savvy or very not tech savvy. So these are sort of the lines on which to differentiate your personas, not on demographic information. Challenge, solution, equal, and outcome. All right, that's your message map formula. Okay, solutions can offer different benefits for different personas. So that's what you need to think about in terms of your personas, and that's another sort of line of demarcation for your personas. Maybe one persona gives one benefit, another person benefits in a different way from your product. And finally, the content you produce needs to be outcome focused, not feature focused, right? The sometimes these features seem very obviously beneficial, right? It can seem like they speak for themselves, and that is just not as true as you would think. Um, don't say like you've got this problem and our product or service has this. You have to translate that to an outcome, right? You can't leave it up to your customer to fill in the gap about how your solution can fix their problem. You have to illustrate that for them. Any questions? I know I kind of hit y'all with a lot fairly quickly, but does this clear things up? Does this get you thinking about your personas or your customers in a different way? Regardless of whether you go through the exercise of crafting personas, this advice should still hold true for any company that's trying to understand its customers better, which we should all be trying to do all the time. So, do we have any questions over there in the Q&A, David?
I'm not seeing any in the Q&A right now. People are welcome to toss them in there or throw them in the general chat at this point. Riley and I are always happy to stay on a little bit afterward too. If you guys have any specific questions on that front. And I'll just add that, we find that working with our clients from a content point of view, we really can't start until these things are known. And we find that we're able to reach our goals a lot easier when we first know who we're talking to. And then second, realize what the best way to talk to them is, right? What are those phrases, words, benefits, right? Outcomes. And then we can go and create some content. Because if not, what is the goal, engagement goal in that content? If we don't know how we're improving people's lives, making them better, then the content is going to be all to take a phrase away from a high school band that I enjoyed, Sum 41. It's going to be all filler and no killer, right? You want to be the inverse, right? You want to provide advice, and that advice leads to a solution, right? And that solution may be your product, maybe it's just the answer their question in that piece of content. So that's my colorful commentary on this topic, Riley.
Yeah, and definitely. And when we talk about speaking to a general solution to a general problem, right? People using our HOA software, they have these problems, and we're giving them sort of like unbranded advice on how to handle those problems, or what HOA software in general can do for you. Those are top of the funnel clients. Those are people saying, is HOA software the solution for me, or should I just keep using QuickBooks, or should I go for something else? But in the same piece of content, you can talk about things that differentiate your product from other products or services, right? And that can speak to middle of the funnel clients who are saying, okay, I want an HOA software, but which one do I pick, right? So it's very possible to speak to different personas and customers in different stage of the buyer's journey in one piece of content. But it should be natural, right? You don't have to speak to every single person every single time.
Right. Every piece of content needs to have a goal, and it doesn't need to have just one goal. It can have more than one goal, but you need to define it and be intentional about it, right? Understand that this piece can touch people in the top, in the middle of the funnel, and then find a way to measure your success in doing that, right?
For sure.
Well, great. We'll go ahead and move on from question time. Again, anytime you have it, feel free to pop it in the chat, or we'll stay after, or find us on the internet in all the different places. If you have any ideas for future hug topics, love to hear them. Again, feel free to share those in any different place. We'll give you a few options here again, but you can toss them in the chat. If there's something that's just been bugging you, or a problem you don't know how to solve, or you want to get some feedback, we can have a hug topic around that, and we can even have a open discussion hug as well too, to get a lot of voices, to get the brain trust together, as they say.
Definitely.
All right, a couple ways that you can engage with the group. As I mentioned before and put in the chat, you can connect with us through the HubSpot chapter. So you should all join that chapter, so that every time we have an event, you get an update and you know what's going on. Additionally, I'm going to, and I thought ahead this time, I'm going to drop in the chat the link for our LinkedIn group. So feel free to join that as well too. I usually, with the LinkedIn group, they get the recording shared with them a little bit faster, allows us to have, again, a discussion outside of these monthly meetings. So feel free to join of those groups.
Definitely.
All right, we already have the next hug figured out. Our good friend Alan Helms from Organic Endeavors is going to walk us through the 4 HubSpot tactics to help measure how content affects the sales process. This is a pivotal topic for any of you who are trying to get buy-in from your sales team that content works, does affect outcomes, and it can help move people through the sales process. So Alan's going to walk us through how to do that in HubSpot. And even, I know we have some people who join who might not be HubSpot users. I think you can pull away the benefits even from how we're using that tool to do this, which you can use in just about any tool that's out there. So I'm excited about that. It's going to be on July 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So whatever time that is for you, that's when we're going to be having that. You can register here soon. I'll share the link in an email after this, so that you can all register quickly. When we send out the recording, we'll share that link as well.
I'd also like to add that having these conversations about personas with your sales team can really get y'all on the same side. If y'all tend to work in silos, and marketing is not as connected to sales as they should be, having these conversations can create a lot of rapport. Because those two departments should be working in tandem.
All right. All we have to say now is thanks. So thanks everybody for joining. Feel free to message us if you have any questions. There's my email, david@ebner.marketing, and you can always find me on LinkedIn, David J. Ebner. Feel free to connect. Happy to have a conversation. I've already connected with a few of you and had some convos, so I appreciate that. So for now, we'll just say thanks, and we'll see you in a month. Bye, everybody.
See ya.